Good morning and hello everyone. Let's see if try two works. Hello to those who joined me and I had to restart. So sorry about that. I'm going to give everyone another minute to jump on and find me, and hopefully the sound issues have resolved. For whatever reason, there was no sound. So I can hear myself and I can see myself and I can see comments. So when you jump on, please let me know that you can hear me and see me and that everything is good. So I know there's a little bit of a delay in when the live video hits. So I'm just going to pause for a moment and give everyone a chance to find me here before I get started. I'm going to jump right in to card making with just a brief reminder that since I removed the other video, it is a new Creatively Inked kit that is up and available. So we're going to be creating with the Notes and Totes bundle this month. So cute. The projects are absolutely adorable. And I know I've said this the last couple of months, but it might be my favorites yet. So you're going to receive that card completed in your kit, and then you are going to make 4 other cards and an adorable little 3D item. And I know I already showed you these, but I deleted, so cute. I deleted the old video because no one could hear me, and I don't know why. All my volume things were turned on. Oh, good morning, Joan. Oh, yes, I have a thumbs up. Yay, you can hear me. Well, let's hope it stays this way. I don't know if you could hear me at all for the last video or not. So, and then the virtual album retreat. I went over this before I close out the video, but just so that those of you watching on replay, you have 3 options for this. It's going to be an amazing event. I did a box unboxing of the kit yesterday. I hope you jump over and watch that. The kit's amazing. So 3 options to join. You can join live with Stampin' Up, virtually from the comfort of your craft space, July 16th through the 18th from 2 to 10:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Then all those classes, there's going to be 12, all those classes will be archived and stored on YouTube with a private link to those who purchase the kit, which is your event registration. So you can go and watch those at any time to create your project. So that's option 2. Option 2 is creating at your convenience by watching the recorded classes. Oh boy, that's really weird, Joan, isn't it? I'm so sorry. Okay. Now I know not to do that in the middle of a video, I guess. All right. Then the third option is to join me live here in Northwest Ohio. I'm going to be offering a 3-day event at in my classroom space, July 18th, the 19th, and 20th. And you can join 1, 2, or all 3 of those days. I'm gifting this to anyone who chooses to reserve their kit through me. So if you order your scrapbook album kit through my online store, I'm going to be sending you a package, whether you're able to join me in person or not. For those in person, you'll receive a seat, treat, and gift each day. And for those who are doing it on their own or joining the Stampin' Up! Live event, I'm going to send you a little package with all those little goodies in it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So you have 3 options. And here's a sneak of some of the 2-page spreads that we're going to be making. Really awesome. Look at that. And these pages all have either a technique or an interactive element on them that they're going to be teaching us. But the best part that I love is everything is pre-cut for you. Look at this. This page, here's a 2-page spread. Everything's cut. I don't have to measure. I don't have to cut anything. And the stamp sets are amazing. So here is what we're going to make today. Super, super cute and fun. We're going to be using the Blooming Phrases stamp set. And as I was playing with this stamp set, I finally broke it out yesterday and was playing with it a little bit, and I thought, this set is really cute. And until you see it in action, I don't think you can really appreciate some of the fun elements in this. So all the sentiments have these long tails on them, which in itself is super cute when you stamp it on a card. But I want to show you how some of the stamps also work. So I am going to show you with these two stamps here, but it would also work with this one and this one. So all of these little foliage stamps, you can stamp. It's so cool, watch this. You can stamp over the tail of your, I should have used green on this. I'm going to use green. And then maybe I can trim that and add it to a project, right? All right, here's my green. This is so cool. It's going to be like an aha moment. This goes over your tail so that you could also make these little floral clusters on here. You could add little flowers onto your word. And there's space in between so that they fit over that. Isn't that neat? I had no idea. So today we are going to use our stamps in different ways, including we are going to stamp on the tail of our sentiment. Isn't that cute? So we're going to do that on both cards, well, on this card today. And then this card is just a really cool technique that works nice with smaller element stamps. And I'll show you how easy that is to do. And it gives you that really cool wow. So blooming phrases, that's what we're going to use today. All right, so let's start with this really cute little card with the little daisy. It looks like a little cone flower. Isn't that cute? And I have my coffee. Do you have your coffee with you this morning? Okay. So for this project, I'm going to bring in a set of dies. And these dies are called Fancy Border Dies. I'm going to use this one. So you get 4 different really pretty borders, and then you get these 2 stamps, which cut out really pretty detail on your cards. And this one actually would have been super cute with the little flowers. I debated using it, but I decided to stick with the detailed border, and I thought it turned out really cute. Then we're going to bring in some of the new designer series paper. This is the 2025 to 2027 in color collection, and there's 4 patterns on these designer series paper collection paper packs. They all come 6x6. Each family collection comes with all of the colors that are in that family collection. And this is the in color one. So the in color one, you get 5 colors and you get 8 pieces of each. For the Regal, Subtles, Neutrals, and Brights, you get all 10 colors, but you get 4 sheets of each color. All right. And then each color comes in 2 patterns. So you have the stripes and the foliage and these beautiful flowers, and then this really pretty kind of like distressed look. And I'm going to use these to death. I absolutely love them. I initially was going to go with this distressed here, but then I thought, ooh, the stripes are awesome. And this is our new Darling Duckling, which is a really great gold color. And I thought it worked really nicely for these cone flowers. So this is the paper we're using. So these border dies work beautifully for doing envelope flaps or the edges of pages. You can make shaped cards. I just added it to the front today so that we could sneak peek some little goodies on the inside. So Joan is still in bed. I know there's such a time difference, right? So that's 2.5 hours from when now it's probably close to 9:30, right? So a 3-hour time difference in Washington for you, Joan. That's early. I think I was still hitting my REM sleep at 6:30. So this is even early for me. I am not a morning person. Are you a morning person? Tell me if you're a morning person, because I am not. I am definitely a get up at 8 if I can choose and stay up till midnight girl. Okay. So to create this project, you are going to want a card base, and I am using a 5.5 by 8.5 piece of thick basic white to make my card today. Then I'm going to cut off about 1 inch using this die here. So I can line up my card on my grid, and I can look where that 1 inch line is. Hopefully, can you see me? Hopefully you can see me. No, I'm off the paper. Okay, let's do it up here. Sorry about that. I'm just going to line it up along a 1 inch mark, and then I'm going to use this grid. Now, if you have grid paper, you can use grid paper. I just absolutely love this Glass Mat Studio. It's probably my favorite product of all the things, surprisingly. I have multiples of them. They're in all my work spaces. So I'm going to cut off about 1 inch. Yep, so it looks like that's about right. I'm going to run this through my Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine, and it's going to add this really pretty decorative edge along it. Now that looks crooked to me. So let me just double check and make sure that, it looks like it's shifted a little bit. So let's fix that, because we don't want any crooked card fronts. So I'm just going to reline this up. And I'm going to put the top of the die on the 1 inch mark from the bottom. So it's about 7 1/8 or so. Oh, so you're a morning person for a lot of years of getting up for work. Okay, well, the same. So I had to be, when I worked, I had to get up at 5:30, and I started my day at 7. And it didn't change me. And I've done that for 30 some years. Here I am, still wanting to not be a morning person. All right, so I ran this through my die cutting machine, and look at, isn't that beautiful? So now you can choose to keep this if you want. This will make a really pretty layer to put behind a piece if you want to add that extra detail onto your project. Okay, in fact, I cut it upside down, so I have upside down scallops instead of right side up scallops. I might fix that, although if I do that, my piece probably won't work that I've pre-cut to put in here. Although I have paper, I can redo it. Let's fix that. All right, so I'm just going to line this up and recut it because I cut it upside down. All right, I'm going to run this through again. So depending on whether you want your scallops, which direction you want your scallops in, this die can be directional. So don't do what I just did and not pay attention. Or you may not be happy when you have upside down scallops on your project. Okay, so I cut the itty bitty tiniest bit off. So now I really do probably have 1 inch cut off the bottom. Before I was just shy of 1 inch. Okay, so I'm going to show you the difference. So can you see how I had my scallops? It was more of the peaks, which still would have been cute. And now I have the scallops down instead. So I'm going to throw this away. Fixed. And then we'll see if my other piece fits. All right, so that is your Fancy Borders die set. Really cute. All right. Now, for the rest of the pieces, let's see if my pieces fit now. I may have to trim them down a little bit. So I have a piece of basic white cardstock, and this is cut 5 1/4 by 3 and I'm going to trim that. It was 3 1/8, but I'm going to trim it down to 3 now because I took a little more off the bottom than I originally had. So I'm just going to trim this down to fit. So this is 5 1/4 by 3, and that'll fit really nicely right on the front there. And then I have a piece of the Designer Series paper that was to go down here. So I had this originally cut to 1 inch, but I'm going to recut this to 1 1/4 so that I cover all the inside of my bottom of the inside that's going to show. So I'm just going to take my paper, and I want my stripes to be vertical. So I'm going to cut it in the right direction. This is 1 1/4 inches. And this is going to go on the inside of my card here across the bottom to give you that cute little peek of what you have on the inside. And then I have a little strip, it's 1/4 of an inch of early espresso. It's whatever color you want as your accent color, and that's going to go on the inside right above. Now you could also create a piece that's an extra 1/4 inch and layer these two together. If you don't like working with little strips, that's fine too. And you could put that inside your card. So let's put these layers together on the inside of our card. So I'm going to use a little Tombow because I want to be able to adjust and put them exactly where I want them so they line up on the edge. So Joan says she wishes she could sleep in. Oh yeah, sometimes I wish I could wake myself up. Isn't it funny how there's two kinds of people, those who their bodies are just ready to go in the morning and those who would rather sleep in. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over and trim the excess off the edge here. And then I'm going to take a really small line of Tombow and I'm going to put it, just the tiniest little bead right there across the top of that piece of Designer Series paper. And that's going to hold my early espresso strip in place. And I'm not overlapping. I'm just going to butt it right up against that. You could overlap if you wanted, but I'm trying to keep my card nice and smooth and flat. So I'm just going to snug that right up against that Designer Series paper and then trim the ends. And you could cut these to 5 1/2 inches if you prefer as well. I like to trim mine to make sure that I get it all the way out to the end. So that's just personal preference. So here is our card base. So this is our card base, and when you open it, you get that little pop of color from the early espresso. Isn't that cute? All right, so now this is what we're going to do our stamping and creating on. And this is a nice and simple card. There's nothing real fancy to it. So we're going to use 3 colors of ink this morning. We're going to use Early Espresso and Darling Duckling for our flowers, and then we're going to use Garden Green for the foliage. And we're going to stamp our sentiment in the Early Espresso ink, but then use our Early Espresso Stampin' Right marker to help us get these little brown details on our stamp, because the stamp is one. It is not 2 separate pieces. So here's our little image, very cute. We'll ink it in the Darling Duckling and then color in the little center part there. So let's start by stamping our sentiment so that it helps us with our spacing. So I'm going to use the Just Because sentiment, and you could use whatever of these sentiments you wanted. They're all really cute. And we're going to stamp this right along the bottom. I just want it straight. And then I'm going to use the tail and ink up the tail. Whoops, wrong color. I need green. I'm like a comedy of errors this morning. We're going to use Garden Green, and we are going to ink up the tail. And you can make these as tall or as short as you want, but you want to vary the height. So I'm going to put one like that. And then I'm just going to angle one a little bit. And then I'm going to put the third one in. So I'm just making 3 little stems to add my flowers. Hey, hi, Julie. Good morning. Happy Friday to you as well. I'm glad you found me early this morning. Okay, so now here is my Darling Duckling ink, and I'm going to take my cute little coneflower or daisy, whatever you'd like to call it. I have a tiny little piece of paper on there. So I'm going to ink this up, and I'm going to use my Early Espresso Stampin' Write marker. I'm going to use the brush tip. So let's take that out and have it ready. I'm going to ink up my flower. This is a juicy pad because it's brand new. So let's do this. I see bubbling on my stamp. And if you ink up your stamp and notice bubbling, you may not get as clear of an image as you want. So I just take the rounded edge of my block and pull some of that ink out of the way and clean off my stamp, and then it moves some of that ink for me, and it gives you a much nicer image. So if you have trouble getting a nice image, try that technique. All right, so I'm just going to gently wipe off some of that Darling Duckling ink from the center, and then I'm just going to color this in with my marker. It's really easy. This is called omitting, where you just do a part of your image, and then I'm just going to stamp those, and look how cute that is. Isn't that super cute? Super cute. All right, so then I'm going to clean it so I don't put brown on my light colored ink pad. Re-ink that and repeat. And I'm just lining up the flower with the top of the stem. And then I'm going to do it a third time. Good morning, Melissa. I'm glad you found me. Happy Friday. And color the coneflower, and then there. How cute are those little flowers? This set is so cute. So now here's where this fun, unique little set shines. I'm going to bring my garden green ink back in, and I'm going to bring in these little foliage stamps. So you have a couple to choose from. You could choose this one, you could choose this one, you could choose the individual leaves if you wanted. If you didn't want leaves all the way down and only wanted like 1 or 2, you could do that. But I'm going to ink this, and then I'm going to put it over my stem and stamp. Isn't that cool? I'll do that one, and then I'll do this one. And then, you know, just for fun, I want to do this one that has just the couple of leaves. So let's get that one out and swap up our stamps. Clean that. Whoops. My stamp was a little bit wet, so it just popped right off when I went to clean it. It looks like a tiny little mustache too, so if you ever wanted to add a little face to something, this would be so cute. And then you could do 2 little dots for eyes. I think I'm going to do the leaves this way. So you could just add them like that. Look how cute that is. So cute. All right. So now we are going to bling it up a little bit. So I have some twine. This is from the Pack Your Bags Twine 3-pack, and I have the beautiful brushed brass butterflies, and we're going to add these to our card. And let me just welcome anyone else. Good morning, Chris. I'm glad you're here. Good morning, Shirley. Oh, how fun you found me. Awesome. I'm glad you're here. Good morning, Cindy. Welcome. All right, we have lots of good morning friends here. So I'm going to use this shaded spruce, and even though this is garden green ink, you can see this shaded spruce twine still matches really nicely. So I'm just going to tie a bow, and we're going to add this bow to the stem of our flower for a cute little accent. This is a simple card. You could do this in any color, which I love when you can choose multiple colors for cards, and you could switch up the flower that you add on here. You could switch up the greens. You could switch up the designer series paper strip that you add along the bottom of your card for a little pop of color. This would make a really adorable gift set of cards. So let's put some Stampin' Dimensionals on here and add this to our card front, and then we can add those couple little extra details. My goodness. So I'm just lining this up on my card front with some dimensionals. Very cute, and you have this really cute little decorative edge that you can really see now pop as you add a little more dimension with the layer that we just put on there. So now I'm going to take a piece of glue dot. So I'm going to cut one of these in half and then fold that half in half so that we can add that knot to our twine. We're just going to put that knot right on here. Tuck that there on our flower. Isn't that cute? And then last but not least, let's add a couple of little butterflies. You can put the butterflies wherever you want, but I kind of like them over here to balance out the card a little bit. I thought that was cute. All right, so now we can move to the inside of the card and decorate that up however you would like. And I thought it would be cute to do the thanks and then to add the detail of the leaf, which I don't know where I put it. I put it back in here because I switched stamps. Here we go. So let's get out our green and our early espresso ink, and we're going to first stamp our sentiment, and we're going to want this tail because we are going to stamp that cute little green foliage on it, just to bring that design from the front to the inside. And I think that just really helps pull your card together when you're able to bring those front details right to the inside of your project. So I'm going to ink up this green and stamp it right over the top of that little tail. Such a cute little detail. And if you want, these brass butterflies are so flat that you can actually put them inside your card as well. So maybe I'll do that as well. Look how cute that is. So there's our first project. What do you think? Isn't that cute? So we have our detailed front edge. We have our little pop of color showing underneath. This is Darling Duckling from our new 6x6 color family stacks. There's 4 patterns in here. You can get all 50 colors. And then when you open it up, you get that pop of early espresso to pull in your flower centers and your sentiment. And you can do this literally in any color that you might want to. And here is the first one I made. It's the same thing. I just recreated it for you. All right, so That's project 1. So let's move on to project 2. So project 2, I'm going to be sharing this really cool technique to create the front of our card. It's really easy. And it works really, really well with small scale stamps because you can cluster them and really create the impact of having the condensed stamping. Thanks, Julie. I'm glad you like that. Okay, so to make this card, I went with white. I kept it really simple. And I brought in a new die set. So you're going to have a second card base that's 5.5 by 8.5. I have this scored at 4 1/4. Thanks, Melissa. I'm glad you like that. Simple and cute. I have some adhesive on this that I keep catching my, let me clean that off. Sorry about that. It keeps catching my layers. I don't remember what I was working on last week, but I made a mess. But the glue comes right off this. It's amazing. So here's our thick basic white card base. Then you're going to want a layer of basic white that is 5.5 by 4 1/4. And we're going to use this to die cut our background layer. So this is the Sentimental Framing dies. They're just beautiful. They look like this. You have several to choose from. And these cut out multiple pieces. So when I die cut this, I'm actually going to get 2 pieces. I'm going to put this on this 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch piece, and it's going to give me these 2 pieces. It's going to give you a frame with all these really amazing details on it, and then it's going to give me the second rectangular piece with the nice rounded corners. Good morning, Deborah. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. And we are going to layer both of these onto our project, but we're going to use this piece to do our technique on and make that. All right. So I have taken this and I've run it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine to get these 2 pieces. And we're going to layer those with our card base like that. All right. Then I used this beautiful edge piece here to cut this really pretty edge. It puts just the decorative elements onto a strip of cardstock, and we're going to put that on the inside of our project. And that's going to add a really pretty detail. All right. So now for the technique, let's set these aside for now. For the technique, you're going to want a Post-it note or a piece of paper in whatever shape that you want. Now, I chose to create an oval, and I'm going to put it in the center. I'm going to eyeball this and hopefully get it right. I'm going to put it in the center of my piece here. And I've cut the oval from just a regular Post-it note using the framed scenes dies because I really like these ovals. It comes in 2 different sizes, and I use the smaller of the 2 ovals to give me more room to stamp around the outside with all the small floral elements that I'm going to pull in. So here's what it looks like. You can see the spacing works out really nicely with that size oval. And you can pull in now whatever colors you would like for your floral element. So here are your floral element choices. So I went with soft sea foam for the flowers. I chose to keep it really light. And for my flowers, I'm going with a dark and light pink, strawberry slush, and pretty in pink, a little pop of blue from Balmy Blue, and a little pop of yellow with Lemon Lolly. So I wanted to keep this really soft because even with soft tones, you can see on the white, it really gives you a beautiful pop of color. So I have pulled out both of these flowers and these tiny little posies and this little floral stamp here. The only flower I did not use was the one I used on the first project, this little cone flower. You can see how cute that little cone flower is. It would be adorable on here. So I have put those on my blocks. So let's pull those out. And then for foliage, I chose to go with this one here and the individual. So we're going to use these with soft sea foam. All right, so we'll set that aside. And I started with my dark pink first and then went out from there. So let's get our strawberry slush ink open. And these ink pads are juicy on these small flowers, so I moved the ink on all of these to make sure I got a really nice image, because I didn't want to risk having, whoops, hold on a second, I just wound up with a gem on my finger. Put that back on there. I didn't want to risk not having nice, clean images. Gosh, this morning I am a mess. Now do you know why I go live normally at 1? I can't get myself together in the morning. All right, let's start over. All right, so I moved my ink and I'm going to stamp my floral image. And I'm not going to stamp as many of the dark, because that's going to really pull your eye, and I really want the beauty of all the other floral images to really pop. So I'm just going to stamp right over the edge of this little post-it note here, and that's going to give me the edge of my oval shape once I remove that. So now let's bring in and start filling in with the other floral elements. And there's no right or wrong to this. You can just keep adding your floral elements however you would like. You want to leave a little bit of room for some foliage to pop through. And then you also want to leave a little bit of room to add some little pops of blue. You could also bring in little pops of purple instead if you didn't want the blue, or even of a darker pink. So there's really, again, no right or wrong here. You can do this however you would like. You can vary the distance of flower that sticks out from the center. I think I'm good with that. Now I'm just going to take a couple of these little individual petals and just kind of sprinkle them around. And I think I'm good with that. So let's see what we've created. Oh, actually I forgot my blue. So let's hold on a second here. All right. now I think we have it. So are you excited to see what it looks like? Here we go. I'm just going to slide this under here, and you could reuse this. Ooh, it's so pretty. It's going to look different every time. So you can see that I stamped my flowers kind of close. I didn't bring them out as far to the edge. So there is some, just the flower edges show. But you can see every time you do it, it's going to look a little different. And I'm going to put this back on and splatter some Wink of Stella on here. So let's pull out our Wink of Stella and get a little bit of it to come down. I may need to replace my Wink of Stella. I think it's getting a little bit dry. Come on. I'm just going to kind of throw some drops on there just to lift it a little bit. All right, and then let's just remove this. So we're going to set this aside to dry, and while that dries, let's put together the base layers of our project. All right, so we have our front layer here, which is a big frame. So we're going to center that, and we're going to put that on with some Stampin' Dimensionals. So let's do our corners. Now, because of all the piercing and the opening little circles on this, you may not, I do not recommend using Tombow liquid. You will have it oozing up through those little areas. If you do use Tombow, I would suggest using a sponge or a dauber. I keep a sponge dauber by my workspace, and I put my Tombow on here, and then I dab it on, and that way you won't have it ooze up through these little spaces, because if you have it ooze up through those little spaces, you're going to kind of have a gluey mess on your hands. So you could either do this with Stampin' Seal, which I probably should have done because I kind of wanted to have that center area pop. You could do it with tear and tape. You could use anything but the Tombow, okay? So now let's just put this frame on the center of our card. Has to go down a little bit. Struggle bus, struggle bus. So it's real. We all have it sometimes, right? Oh, I'm just gonna leave it. Okay, I'll fix it later. Okay, so now we have our frame on here, and we're going to let this dry, and it's going to kind of pop up in the center. So this Wink of Stella is still wanting to dry. Let's help it out a little bit here so that we can stamp our sentiment in the center. So for the sentiment in the center, instead of using the long tail, I'm going to use just the words and do a little masking. So but the way I mask is by not masking. I like to stamp off the end of my ink pad like this. So I'm going to just ink hello from the hello there and center that, stamp it, and clean my stamp really good because I don't want any shadows from that first word. Then I'm going to do there. And you have that little tail, so you can either use your finger, but you really want to make sure it's clean because you don't want a shadow. And decide how much of that tail you want to show. Clean it really good so you get a nice crisp edge. You could also put a Post-it note on there, which is probably the smarter option. And then you can stamp it, and look how cute that is. Hello there. I think that's such a cute little sentiment on the front of a card. All right. Then for the inside, let's set this back aside to dry for a moment because that Wink of Stella is still wanting to dry. So let's take the inside of our card and we're going to do two things. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to adhere this along the bottom. So that's really, really pretty. So let's put a little stamp and seal on there. So we're going to do the ends. And then a couple spots in the middle. And I'm going to put this just a little bit up from the bottom. But you could put it right along the bottom if you wanted. Isn't that pretty? It's a really pretty detail. It's very crooked inside your card. That's better. And then we're going to stamp our sentiment. So this says thinking of you. So it says hello there on the front, thinking of you on the inside. And then now we can take advantage of these cute little details that are here and add something, or you can put a little floral cluster in the center. And I think I'm going to add just a little floral cluster in the center. So I'll add this nice pink flower and then maybe a little yellow cluster. So I'm just inking this up with the lemon lolly. So this was my strawberry slush. I'm sorry, the pretty in pink for the big one and the lemon lolly for the little one. And then we need to add some little bits of foliage. So let's put our strawberry slush away and add our soft sea foam. You could do this at the same time you are stamping the front, which is actually the more efficient way to do it. So I'm just going to come and add these little leaf clusters wherever you want them. This adds such a pretty touch to the inside of a card there. And I'm going to leave it like that. So isn't that beautiful on the inside? So pretty. Okay, now let's come back to the front of our card and finish our details. So I'm going to pull in the new strawberry slush ribbon. I love the ribbon for our new in colors. It's very sheer and ties really nicely. So Joan said Stampin' Up! Had a greeting set like this a long time ago. Oh, with the tails like that? I agree, Joan. I seem to remember one too, and it was a really long time ago. But they were also big. It was a wood set, if I remember correctly. All right, so I may even still have it laying around here somewhere. I'm going to take a small piece of ribbon and I'm going to cut it at an angle. This again is strawberry slush. And I'm going to use a stapler to add a fun little detail. I haven't added a staple detail to a project in a really long time because we don't have a stapler anymore. So I don't think to pull out things that we don't sell anymore, but I love adding details to my projects with a stapler. So I'm just going to fold a little piece. So this is maybe 1.5 inches to 3/4. And I'm just folding it like this, offset. And I'm going to put it on the edge of my card like this, on this cute little tag. And then I am going to staple it on there. So I want enough of it overhanging so that I can fit a whole staple. So depending on if you have a mini stapler or if you're using your desktop stapler, I'm just going to staple an X like that to make a cute little element. I know Joan's laughing when I said wood set. It was a wood set. All right, and now I'm going to set this right back in the center, but I'm going to raise it up. So I'm going to break out my dimensionals and I'm going to make it double the height. If I can find my sheet of dimensionals somewhere. Here they are. They got put away with my ribbon. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe one in the center. Take these off. And then I'm going to come back in and do a second one because my first layer, now if you put your first layer on with Stamp and Seal, and by first layer I mean this frame. If you don't put your frame on with dimensionals, then you can do a single layer. But this is a way to get some extra height. You can build up multiple layers of dimensionals. And now we're just going to set that right back in that space and have that pop up. Isn't that pretty? And then last but not least, let's add some bling. And again, I kept it simple today. I went back to the old trusty rhinestones because I wanted just some shimmer and shine. And I've got some stuck to my package here. Not sure how I manage that. But let's get those off there. And we're just going to do 1, 2, and 3. And there's our project. What do you think? Isn't that cute? So let's take a look at both of our cards that we made today. So we made one with this really cool technique, and then we made one just featuring the cute little elements in, whoops, I don't think you can see that in the stamp set, how you can mix and match all your pieces to go together so nicely. Thanks, Chris. Which one do you like more? Do you like the cute little cone flowers, or do you like that technique used in the Post-it note? Oh, Joan likes them both. Thanks, Joan. I think this is such a cute set. Now, the Blooming Phrases, this is a stamp set that's part of, oops, that's Notes and Notes. That's a great one too. This is a really great set and can be found in my online store. It's an online exclusive, as well as pretty much everything I used today. These sentimental framing dies are online exclusive. The oval is from the Framed Scenes. That's an online exclusive. And the edge dies that I used on the first card, the fancy border dies. These are all online exclusives. So Julie says she may need the frame die for Halloween cards. Oh, Julie, that's a great idea. And you can see I cut it in purple. Do you want to see what it looks like in purple? Because I think purple is going to match the adorable one anyway of the adorable Halloween sweets we have coming. Isn't that cute? So cute. It's really pretty in the dark color. This die set is gorgeous. And I hadn't really created with it yet. And I thought, ooh, it's time. I need to pull that out and use it on something. So what do you think? Do you like it in the purple? In the dark color? All right. So I appreciate you joining me this morning, the hot mess me and all that I am, between the sound not working and glue issues and sticking things upside down. It was a little bit of a mess, but hey, you stuck with me. Thank you. Don't forget to reserve your Creatively Inked kit for the month of June. You have until June 20th, where we're going to use these notes and totes. I'm going to give you another quick sneak peek of the notes and totes projects we're going to make this month in our Creatively Inked kit. We're going to do a non-card project, which is so cute, and some really adorable cards using this notes and totes bundle. And you are going to make not only one, but 2 pop-up cards. So 2 of the cards this month have pop-up elements that I think you're really going to have fun putting together. So to subscribe to Creatively Inked, you can go to my blog, melzinkyfingers.com. The link is at the top of the page. It says Creatively Inked. Or you can look for scan the QR code that's at the top of this page in the header. I have a sneak peek and a QR code. Scan that QR code, takes you right to the information about the kit, and you can get subscribed. All right, well, thanks everyone for joining me today. You know it's the highlight of my week to get to spend a little bit of time with you on Fridays. I hope you have an amazing weekend. I have lots of lacrosse this weekend, which is why I'm live early this morning. My little one and I are going to head out of town for some lacrosse and kick off the summer season. So I will look forward to seeing you next week. And for now, bye.